Everybody do their best.
Nobody here is a sound or audio engineer.
Oh, well, yes, of course. But we are hopefully going to be live in just a hot minute here. See, we are live. Look at that.
We are live.
Yeah. Do you want to do your intro?
Yes. In a world where beloved cultural instruments are being replaced with sample packs, one man with one flute. Well, actually, he has a lot of flutes, like a lot of flutes. But that's not the point. One man with one flute tries to save a cultural tradition. Huh?
That's pretty epic.
Yeah, that's my 5-minute pitch, or like my elevator pitch for the biopic.
I think if there was like some bass drum and like horn hits, like bass trombone, bass drum, and then like kind of like suspenseful strings in the background, I think it would work.
How do you feel about walking slowly away from an explosion? Like with
very positively.
With the shakuhachi in your hand, big explosion behind you, just calmly walk away.
Very positively.
Kind of channel that inner Tom Cruise.
Yes. I was thinking a little bit more Brad Pitt, but I can do Tom
cool.
Cruise too.
Yeah. I think Tom Cruise is holding up better.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
Well, must be that Scientology
Must be
thing.
the Scientology.
Yeah. That's what they believe, right? Don't they believe like in eternal self? I mean, you're the one with the religion major.
I do. Yeah, we don't have time to talk about what Scientologists believe. We don't have time for that. That's a whole different live stream. If you guys want to hear that, let me know.
Well, welcome into another live stream here with the Taidu Studios. I am your host, Sean Head, and we have as a new addition, our in-house producer.
Yeah, not as always, but almost as always.
Yeah.
I'm Linus.
Yes. We had the festival recently. That's why the live streams kind of got a little bit, as they say in our neck of the woods, cattywampus.
Yes. Also, we were just way too hungover. We just couldn't do it.
It's a shakuhachi drunk.
No. Shakuhachi is, for those of you who play other instruments and you've experienced, the musician lifestyle, shakuhachi is the most wholesome group of musicians I've ever met in my entire life.
Very much so.
One drink in bed by 9:30. That's right.
Well, actually, I think that was a good summary of if you want to say what was our festival like, one drink in bed by 9:30.
That summed it up. Aside from the Russian guys, I think they were drinking fairly aggressively, but
living true to the stereotype.
Yes. But I don't think anybody actually had a hangover the whole week. It's like a bunch of monks get together and play their flutes.
Yeah, it was a very nice event. We had a lot of really interesting classes that happened. So since you were out there, what was the highlight for you? What was your most favorite part of the festival?
I really thought that going to the shrine where the Kimpu players had practiced for decades was super cool.
Hundreds of years,
yeah. Super cool to go there and, kind of, it's again another experience like we talked about in Nara, where you step into a place that has historical relevance and you're not just thinking about it anymore. You're actually there playing your flute, All you need is a katana and a wakizashi, and you're living the dream.
You're basically a samurai at that point.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I felt the same way too. I thought I wish that part of it could have been a little bit longer, but we were trying to, cut through an apple orchard to get there on time and find the right bus and everything.
There was a bit of bushwhacking to get to that shrine, which was kind of entertaining in its own way. We actually walked right through somebody's orchard. Mm-hmm. And kind of bumped into two people who were actively loading apples onto a truck. And so I think that is the quintessential Aomori experience.
That was very Hirosaki Aomori experience to be walking through. It's like, hey, we're going to go to the shrine to play our flutes, and walking through somebody's apple orchard, and they're like, hey, we want some apples? And then the younger guy's like, Grandma, don't give them apples. We don't know these people. Right?
Yes.
And that's kind of what happened. It was really funny.
Yeah, the little old lady there was trying to give away apples, and I think it was her grandson was like, no, Grandma, these are expensive. I kind of wanted one because they were, like half an hour off the tree?
Oh, yeah.
Like there is no fresher apple on earth.
Yeah, and they looked like Granny Smiths, man.
Yeah, and they were quite large and beautiful, and actually I have to say, every apple thing that I tasted in Aomori, and there were many, was amazing. best apple juice I've ever tasted in my life.
Oh yeah,
By
that was
far
good.
the best just sliced apple. Like one of our teachers just handed out sliced apples, and it was amazing.
Also, the apple pies were very good.
I didn't actually. I guess there was a restaurant that had like 5 different kinds of apple
Yes.
pie. I didn't get to it because I'm fat.
Apple tea, apple soup. I mean, it was a lot of apples.
It was incredible. And so, if apples are your jam, Hirosaki and the whole Aomori area, I recommend.
I think you could have gone further with those puns. Like, if apples is your jam, then take a slice out of life by going to Aomori and peel back to
Right.
see all the sweetness that it has to store.
Get to the core of Aomori
There you go.
Prefecture.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
So, as always, the chat is open for any questions. And I know we're starting earlier today. Usually we start at 11, but hey, we're here. We're starting at the 10:30 time. So I imagine that the chat will be a little bit more quieter today, and that's okay. Just for everybody else to know, the months of ever since July, when I went to America and I had some concerts and some things to do around there, and then when I got back in August, September, October, and November have been so busy. Like my schedule it looks like it's a murder scene with how many red pen marks and everything that's there. There's chalk outlines and, Exhibit A. And I'm telling you, it already says Exhibit AA, Exhibit AB. There's a lot of stuff on there to be done.
Yeah.
And we have Joe Stat from NEPA. Welcome in. And so, yeah. Questions are open. So if you want to ask anything, please feel free. Anything Shakuhachi related, or even if non-Shakuhachi related, I'm fine with that too. We have Craig in the house as always.
Yeah, his question is, how's it going, mate?
How's it going, mate? It is going, as they say.
Yeah.
So we recently had some new community posts, and is there any interesting poll related community things that you see? Oh, actually.
I was looking at them a little bit before we went live, and I think we haven't really talked about it much. It's something that we kind of give lip service to it, but you'll see what I did there in a second.
Oh, okay.
Sing your pieces
Oh, yes.
to improve your phrasing and to make it easier to memorize pieces and to help you know where to breathe. And I agree with all of that except the where to breathe part, because I feel like I can sing a lot longer than I can play.
I agree with that, and I think that shows a part of your playing in where your volume to velocity in your flute playing is unbalanced. It means you're probably using too much air.
So I just jumped on that grenade for everyone.
Yep. Yeah. There you go. We also have a studio audience member today. Hi, Robert. Yeah. And so this actually was advice that we have given you over the past couple of days. I don't know how well people will be able to hear you when you speak, but how did you feel about it overall as a tip advice? Do you feel like it was very helpful for you and you found a lot of growth through that and trying to sing along with the pieces?
Yeah, by singing the melody, I actually got to ingrain the tune into myself and be able to put that out into the flute better.
So yeah, just to reemphasize what he said and say it again, it's like it really helped ingrain the melody, like in his inner ear. So that way, when he want to go play it, it was much more natural. And actually, one of the things that I noticed when we were doing that together, like I would play the piece and you would hum along with it. And again, for everybody who's like might be watching this and saying like, well, I can't sing at all. Robert does not have an opera voice. Right, so but look, and I told him I don't care about pitch, I don't care about any of these things, just hum along, and it could just be it's the point about it is to get the audiation going. And when that was happening, as soon as you played directly after that, the smoothness of the phrase was I can't even tell you how many times better it was. So I'm glad that it like you felt that, and it wasn't just something that you're experiencing, but you're also like seeing the results in actual time. So very good.
As a side note from that, we talk a lot about how you don't necessarily have to have great singing pitch
Mm-hmm.
to be able to play the shakuhachi, but you do have to develop your ear
Yes.
to be able to hear when you're on pitch. And so maybe we can delve a little bit into tips on ear training, because I know, like my wife, for example, cannot sing at all,
Yeah.
but she played the viola for years very successfully. And that's another instrument where you have to have a decent ear. You have to be able to hear what's
Yes.
right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the best way to train ear, especially if you're not someone with any musical background, or maybe you think you have a 10 ear?
Honestly, the best way to train the ear is to sing. It really is. If you really want to get yourself to recognize pitches and be able to like just pop them out of the air, you have to sing. It's the best way, because it's not just hearing it inside the inner ear, it's also producing it. Right. And but before that stage, one thing that's really helpful is to do a lot of score reading. So as you're looking through different shakuhachi scores, listen to the performance, like listen to a performance of it and read along. That will help create a connection to what's on the page visually and what's coming into your ear auditorily. And right, if that's even a word, like dictionary,
orally.
Yes.
I think that a big intermediary step for a lot of people who are just afraid to sing, maybe you were told at one point in your life that you shouldn't sing, just humming is a big step in the right direction, because you can hum. And actually humming, I find that humming has like a really pleasant vibratory effect that can help ingrain tones in your body as well, if you sort of can feel it in your sternum. And I feel like with humming, I feel it more in my face and in my sternum.
Yeah, because you're masking, as they say, right?
Yeah.
Like that. There, right?
Yeah.
But I wrote a piece. It's called 14 Doe. It was one of the first pieces I wrote for shakuhachi and soprano, and in one of the pieces, Shimpo no Sake, it goes like that kind of idea, but the singer actually hums through it, and you get a hum and play the shakuhachi at the same time. It's a very beautiful effect. So humming can be just as musical as everything else. I mean, when you sing to children to sleep, you don't always necessarily are belting. A lot of times you can just hum the melodies and they'll go right to sleep. I had one night where my daughter was just, I think she was at 7 months at that time, and she just was not having it. She was pissed. We tried milk, we tried everything. I was holding her, patting the back. We walked outside, came back in, nothing worked. And so then I started singing. That made it worse. Then when I hummed, she was like, right? And so, humming is just as musically acceptable of a form of, expression as singing is.
So what you're saying is that when my son was a child, I should not have been trying to put him to bed by singing the songs from Rum Sodomy and the Lash, right?
Metallica is also not an acceptable lullaby.
Yeah, for those of you who are new parents, the Pogues, doesn't put babies to sleep. I tried that. And he's weird now, too, so that's probably why. So, anything else you want to add on singing?
No, I just think that, embrace it, sing more, enjoy it. It will really it will really help your overall playing. And Mike from the studio also says Kuroda Bushi isn't either. He's listening. That's not. I'm guessing he's saying that from experience, playing Kuroda Bushi for the kids, and then there's like. Do you know that moment when when the kids stop for a moment and they give you that look? And they're about ready just to belt out the biggest scream. That's what I'm imagining right now. Just
the long inhale.
Those are big too. But I like the ones where they just stop and like that. That's like I kind of wish we were talking about this on a hike that we did with our friend Jonan a couple days ago. With Robert was there with us as well, and we were talking about. I wish that we could, as adults, just react like how children react sometimes. Like when people say, "Oh, we're out of this."
Just throw yourself on the ground in front of the register and kick and scream.
Yes.
Yeah. It would be very cathartic, I think, but awkward for everyone else.
Yeah. But life would be a lot more interesting
It would be a lot more entertaining. I mean, you have to, except whenever you see an adult do that, you're like, oh God, here come the cops.
Yeah, it's,
We're going to get law enforcement involved. Just let that person cry. Let them get it over with.
yeah.
And afterwards, you give them a cookie and you send them on their way.
But yeah. What else is on the community board?
Okay. All right. So something that I am deeply entrenched in and it bothers me every day is goal setting.
Ah,
So you try to set goals, but after a while, your goals always, like I set a goal for your practice sessions. My goal always is like, try to suck less, right? And that's not a particularly actionable goal. So what kind of goals do you think that, let's say the new player, the Chuden level player who is working hard to get through those repertory books, what's a good goal for them, or what kind of goals would you suggest?
well, I just as you would like have like job goals, financial goals, you should have long-term and short-term things. So like, what's your overall goal 10 years? Like, so if you say 10 years I want to have a Shihan in hand, right? That's a great goal to have, and that's probably one that's going to be not flexible, and it's going to probably stay the same. Right? You'll have a 5-year goal. It's like, I'd really like to hit and be able to play these 2 or 3 pieces, right? And then you'll have the ones that are going to be more of what we're talking about right now. So those are also, I want to mention those too, because you shouldn't just have one goal and be so unidimensional in your practice, or even in just your goal setting too. That has to be dynamic and flexible. So because also, let's say even like those 2 or 3 pieces, you might hit those way earlier, and you'll hit that goal and say, okay, well, what's my new past 5-year goal that's only 2 years from now? What other pieces do I really want to play? Well, I think that now I can play this piece because I didn't think I was going to be at that high of a level. I have a lot of students who come and they'll be in their first week of lessons. They say, yeah, I want to play Hara no Umi. When do I get to play that one? Like, 5 years from now, right? Yeah. A lot to learn before you get there. So let's talk about the short-term ones. Like, let's say you're in the Shoden book, or you're in like the beginning stages. You're under a year of playing, maybe even under a year and a half of playing. Just consistent tones. They just say to yourself, 9 times out of 10, when I pick up my flute for the first time, I want to be able to make a clear row, right? So pick up the flute. Okay. Okay. I missed. And you keep going, and you're like getting that kind of consistency, right? So sometimes having little small goals like that, and that way you can say, all right, good, I have this one goal that I hit off there. Okay, I want to be able to play my scale going up in one breath. Good, I got that. I have that out of the way. I've been able to check that off as stuff like that. Then you might say, okay, inside this piece of music, I always have this one rhythmic spot that I always mess up, right? And so I want to make sure I get that 3 times in a row, right? And before you even start your practice session, you go in saying, these are the things that I want to hit today, right? So you have a 1-day goal, then you have a 1-week goal. I want to finish this piece, and I want to extend my rows length by 1 second. Then you have a 1-month goal. I'd like to be able to have some of the previous pieces that I had committed to memory, and so on and so forth. So there's goal setting can be very dynamic, and it really should be, because the more goals that you're able to complete, you'll get endorphin hits from them, and nothing hits hard like a good bout of dopamine and serotonin. But I used to do this with my elementary school and middle school students, and especially the young boys and girls that were in sports. And I would say to them, like, let's say it was a young girl who's playing violin, and I'd say, hey, what sport do you do? And she goes, well, I love to play my volleyball. Like, volleyball is my favorite sport. Like, are you on a team? Yeah, I'm on the school team. Okay, great. Do you like losing? She goes, no. It's like, of course not. I don't like losing, right? It's like, sucks, but it's part of the game, and so on and so forth, and you do better next time. Like, that's exactly right. So when you're playing violin, every single time you mess up or something, or you don't complete the task to the complete, it's the same as losing a game. It's just like, oh, I get it. And so then she would start to take that and, play violin like as if it was a game. And like, oh, if I get this whatever, if I play all my scales properly and I do all the bowing correctly, I just won the game. And those kind of winning the games are get the endorphin hits, and then you really start progressing because it becomes almost like addictive to play the shakuhachi at that point, or the violin, or whatever instrument you may be playing.
I really like that metaphor, that connection. So in my next lesson, if I play well, I would prefer if you just said, he shoots, he scores at the end of the piece.
All right, I'll start speaking in Spanish, and then goes touchdown, goal. Yeah, that's right.
That would be great. That would be very motivating. I would be much more excited about my lesson if I thought you were going to burst out in Spanish. That would be awesome. So
I think actually Robert and I were talking about this too. It's like I should do a concert one of these times, and it's like, as they say in Japanese, "Un monumento, por favor."
Yes. Well, so since we're talking about this, goal setting idea, the next thing that really caught my eye is a good step from that about motivation.
Yeah.
And what motivates you to keep learning the shakuhachi. And we have a poll up there, which is still open. Please feel free to respond. But I was actually really surprised by the responses, because the highest response is personal growth. People were saying 39% of respondents have said that what motivates them to keep learning the shakuhachi is personal growth. And the other options for those who aren't looking at it is connecting with the tradition, performance opportunities, and emotional expression. And my response, which is performance opportunities, was the lowest.
Yeah. I was actually thinking that it was going to be emotional expression.
Yeah, I kind of thought that it would be emotional expression or performance. I thought performance opportunities, like that's, I guess maybe I'm an attention whore, but I always thought that, the reason I learned any instrument was that someday I would play it for somebody else.
Yeah, and this goes back to that kind of goal setting thing, right? Like for somebody, when they say personal growth, like I want my 10-year growth as I want after 10 years to be a better person through playing shakuhachi.
No, look at me. That's what I That's why I'm here. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, yes, there's personal growth, but
yeah,
I definitely, any instrument that I'm learning, in the back of my mind, the primary mover is I'm going to play this in front of people someday.
That was originally, that wasn't my intention for shakuhachi. My original intention was it was going to be my like the DNA for the music I write, like it was composing, but it obviously didn't end up that way, and I ended up making a performance career. So sometimes it like this goes into that long-term goal being flexible. I've had students who've come in and they just say, "Oh yeah, I just want to play for fun," and I go, "Yeah, but you're too good just to be playing for fun. Okay, let's take this a little bit more seriously." And I understand it's not going to be like your full-time job and you're just going to quit your tech job and start doing this, but it would be kind of cool if you did a concert once a month or took a student or two that you taught on the weekends. And they're like, yeah, I could see myself doing that. And that becomes a new goal for them. I want to have a couple students and I want to do a concert once a month.
Yeah, if you start getting serious about it, in Tairu Studios, Shakuhachi play you. And I mean, we, all of us, I think, came into it at some point saying, we'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. And very quickly it becomes consuming. Yeah.
For example, you have a concert coming up.
I do. I have a 3-day engagement. I feel like a Vegas
star. Yeah. So Liu Mei here, the singing dragon, will be at the Nara Park on 19, 20, and 21 of this month.
Yep.
And you'll be playing some tunes.
Yeah, I'll be playing some hankyoku and some modern pieces, and also just chit-chatting with people and handing out business cards to help people learn about shakuhachi and the Tairu Studios.
Yes, that's what we're all about. Just expanding the shakuhachi around the world, getting as many people interested and into it as possible. What is called? Renaissance
of
shakuhachi.
Shakuhachi
In
Renaissance.
the world.
No, sorry. I'm not going to do that anymore.
We're one man
and one flute. Well, one room of flutes.
Yeah.
So I know we've asked this question before, but I forgot your answer. Off the top of your head, don't count. Just off the top of your head, how many shakuhachi do you own?
30.
Wow. Wow. So when it's time for your kids to go to school, you're just kind of a garage sale and
That's kind of the plan. You know, I've actually might have found, to talk about flutes, I might have found a replacement flute for my 1.8.
And so your 1.8 could be handed off to a trusted student who lives nearby?
Maybe. That student might have to take a loan.
I don't think that student, I think that student could, maybe put braces on his kid's teeth or have that flute.
Hey, health insurance here is covered a part of your taxes.
It covers orthodontia?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, is that another good reason to move to Japan?
Yes.
So your kids don't have to be little snaggletooth monsters.
But you have to be careful sometimes with braces. If you do braces, there's a medical reason for it and then a non-medical reason for it. So the non-medical, you still have to pay. But if there's like a medical reason for it, like in terms of teeth are coming in such a bad shape that it's hard to eat.
Like tusks.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, then they would be like, yeah, you need braces. All right, then it's covered under the.
You can't
chap.
just take him in front of the doctor and go, I mean, look at him. Come on.
Do you see this face?
Give this kid a break. You know,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is actually, I think, just anecdotally, I think it's a lot less common. I don't see a lot of kids with braces on as much as you do in the U.S.
No, not as much. Even I think it's more of a cultural thing too, right? Because most people don't show their teeth in Japan. Like women will even cover their mouth when they laugh and stuff like that. And there's a lot of that kind of this kind of emotions.
Well, and with idol culture, there's even there is some love for snaggletooth. There's even girls, young girls who are models or idol types sometimes have dental work that gives them a weird
actually
fang.
ruins their teeth and stuff. Yeah. It's very interesting.
My daughter, oh God, she's 6 and she told me the other day that what she's going to be when she grows up is an idol.
Oh.
And she's already started a fan group and she has 4 fans.
What happened to the 7 babies?
I guess that's after the idol, because I told her that being an idol, it lasts about 8 months, and then it's over. So, but I think after that, the 7 babies, and the one before that was she was going to be a half dragon, half wolf ninja.
Who was that one? That one pop star back in like 2010 who like made it super big and then just disappeared. Like her whole thing was she went in knowing I'm gonna like basically make 3 amazing tracks, make millions and millions of dollars, and I'm done.
I mean, honestly, that's the way to do it, because the amount of scrutiny that pop stars are under, especially in Japan and in Korea and Thailand, all the sort of the Asian pop, the amount of scrutiny is brutal. There are people that are idols who are very successful, particularly the girls. The guys tend to get away with more, but the girls who get kicked off their contract because someone got a picture of them smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, or they got too fat. like they'll on their if you ever look at like J-pop stars, what they'll do is they write out their height, hair color, their weights, bust size,
blood type,
everything, and all these things are like incredibly important. Basically what this is saying is I wouldn't recommend becoming a shakuhachi idol.
No, but if you become a shakuhachi player and you choose the right kimono, you can put on a fair amount of padding and no one will know.
That's true. That's true.
So back to our original topic. In terms of personal growth, right? I think a sound argument can be made for mastering any skill.
Sure.
Gives you confidence.
Yes.
But I think there are some research results which indicate specifically that playing a musical instrument does good things for your brain. It tends to stave off Alzheimer's.
Yeah, if you do look at the like just how the brain lights up when they've done like the what are they, MRI scans when they do that, or
something. The magic scanning box.
Yeah, so they have them people just listening to music, and all of the neurons in their brains are just like firing off like fireworks, and it's just massive explosions of interneural connections that are happening. We actually have a couple. We have one neural scientist that's in our studio. So
Wow.
we might have to call him and say, hey,
And for a guest appearance.
yeah, a guest appearance. Hey, tell us what the shakuhachi does. Your brain on shakuhachi. Take an egg and throw it to the ground.
This is your brain on shakuhachi. No, it's not on the ground. He's throwing it like into the middle of a rice paddy. That's
Yes.
your brain on shakuhachi.
And then it rises up from the ground and develops into this weird dragon thing.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
that's your brain on shakuhachi. It gets
Yeah.
weird.
What would that name be? Egg dragon?
Egg dragon. I feel like there's a Skyrim meme in the making here.
Tamagoru.
Tamago to you. That sounds like the school of eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other poll that really caught me off guard, I was really surprised, was the people who, where was it? About practicing, here it is. Do you prefer to practice solo, in a group, with a teacher, or alongside recordings? And the vast majority of people chose solo, 73% of respondents.
Yeah.
And again, basically this is just me asking Sean to explain why my answers are wrong. Because my answer was alongside recordings. And it could just be where I'm at in the repertoire, because I like frequently will pull up a whatever version of a hankyoku that I'm working on and listen to it line by line.
Do you like jumping on the grenade for people?
Well, I mean, I'm just being honest. That's
Okay.
what I do. And I sometimes even, particularly if I'm copying one specific version of a hankyoku as my base, then I will actually go through and write the timestamps at the top of each line so I can access it more easily.
So what I would say for this one is that it's a little bit of like the imposter syndrome, where you feel like, well, so there was another poll, like, to backtrack this. There was another poll on that YouTube where I asked about what did you find most important about playing shakuhachi. Is it like the tone? Is it the techniques? Is it musical expression? Or is it keeping into an accuracy of the tradition? And accuracy of the tradition was the lowest amount, and like that was and that was actually really surprising. I thought that would be the most. So what you value is what is correct, right? When you're going through and trying to play a piece. So you want to say, okay, is this line in standard with something or someone, rather than what is my authentic way of performing this piece.
Right, because what do I know?
Yeah, and Kyle Abbott and I talked a lot about this too, and I was trying to, I already have my own answer, my own philosophy for this, but I wanted to push him as much as I can about authenticity, right? Especially when it comes to Tsugaru Jamisen, which is a very Japanese, non-Japanese genre, because it's so heavily influenced by surfer rock, and all of like a lot of the eccentricities of the music are not Japanese. And so I pushed him a little bit on that authenticity, and he gave a great answer, and he's like, well, this is authentic, right?
Yeah.
Right. Right. Who cares this and that and over there? Yeah, that's authentic for somebody, but authentic for you is what you actually create and what you decide. So
Sure.
This happens a lot in classes. Sensei, where can I put Muraiki? Well, where do you think it should go?
Wherever you want.
Yeah. Well, where should I put my komibuki? Well, where do you think it should go? Right. Should I play this line like this, or should I play a line like this? Well, how do you think you should play it? Right. And I hate the answer of like, so should I do it like this or should I do it like that? Yes. Right. And unfortunately, a lot of times though, when it comes down to the objective teachings and the subjective teachings, the subjective is one that I really try to avoid, but rather what I do is I encourage. So on objective things, here is a pitch, here is a rhythm, this is good tone, this is bad tone, here are techniques. Okay, how do you want to implement those? That's subjective. So do I hold out the su a little bit longer? You can. Well, should I make it shorter? You can. Let's try both. What do you like? How does that feel? Right? And then I can say, just from my subjective ear, it does feel like things are pushing forward and rushing. But that doesn't mean that I'm like the ultimate authority and right. And I try to really get that across to all of my students, both online, in person, and through YouTube, is that there's so many different ways to do it. And you don't get yourself locked into this box of how things should be. That being said, it was Picasso who said, learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist.
Yeah.
Right? We do want to make sure those objective things are very, very good. That way, when we go to break rules and be artists and musicians and create something new, you know, it makes something very special.
I think part of the reason that I question my own decisions about whether to add, Maraiki, for example, is based on the fact that I didn't grow up listening to this music. Like, if I'm playing guitar or playing ukulele and I have a phrasing issue, I have no problem trusting my own intuitions because I grew up listening to that music. And with shakuhachi, I've listened to shakuhachi for 20 odd years, but like only seriously started studying it like 5.5 years ago. And so I think imposter syndrome is part of it, but I also think it's just, I don't feel that I have the backlog of experience to know what sounds good. And also, I am nothing if not pedantic. Okay?
Shallow and pedantic.
Thank you. See, this isn't so much a live stream as this is Linus's therapy session with Sean. He's trying to help me stop.
Please check out with the secretary at the door for your next schedule. I believe it's next week at 11 a.m.
Are you just going to bill me? All right.
Speaking of bills, Ernie has donated $5 and 5 Australian dollars, so they're worth less than American dollars, but they are dollars nonetheless.
Why you got a dog on his donation like that? That was rough.
Look, here's the thing, though. Ernie is consistently a supporter of the channel by putting in super chats. So, Mike, Craig, just going to put that out there. Well, see, Ernie thought it was funny. He's laughing at it. So,
okay, Ernie, I got to say, for those of you who haven't had the pleasure of meeting Ernie is a solid dude. Like, he's a good guy. Whether to play shakuhachi with him or you just want to sit down and like chat and have a beer, Ernie's a solid dude. So thanks for being here.
If I ever got to the point where I was so famous that I need a bodyguard, I would definitely hire Ernie. I don't know anybody who and I'm a very high energy person. That guy's high energy.
Yeah, he is.
There is no stopping him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he is a machine. So
just on angel dust 24/7.
No, I think if you were trying to enter a green room that was guarded by Ernie, you'd think twice.
Oh, absolutely, especially if he has a sword in hand. All right, here he goes. In Hiroshima at the moment, is playing shakuhachi while drunk really bad? I got told to get up and play at welcome parties all last week. See you Saturday, bud. Yeah, he's coming over too, by the way.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, he's going to hang out for an afternoon, couple hours.
Cool. Yeah, playing shakuhachi drunk. I have never tried it. I feel like it would be really hard for me because the first symptom of drunkenness for me is numb lips.
Personally, I don't get drunk anymore. I only will allow myself to get just a little bit tipsy, and then I basically cut myself off. The main thing is if anything, you could actually break the instrument if you're really drunk and you're just wandering around or whatever. But if you're tipsy and you just want to play some shakuhachi, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, I don't think it's gonna hurt you.
No.
I know that I'm drunk when, as what I like to say, my wife laughs at me for saying it, my sleech is spurred. And when that happens, I don't think I could even make a decent embouchure. Maybe otsu, but I don't think any con notes would come out.
Mm-hmm. And it's the embouchure will be weird. You're not going to make as good of sounds. Like again, this is not like you don't want to pound back a couple vodkas or shochus and then go on stage and try to play.
So
right?
I think the key thing would be, is the audience drunker than you are?
That is a good point. Now we just throw a monkey wrench into the whole situation here.
Because I used to play in a rock band, and as long as the audience is slightly more hammered than you are, you're the best band ever.
Mm-hmm. Just don't record it.
Yeah. Oh God, no. Yeah, that's definitely not something. When people get their phones out, you don't want to see those recordings.
Interestingly enough, we had an event that was at Sawara Shuzo, which is a sake company, and so they're local to this area, and they have a bunch of brands of sake that are actually famous around Japan and Taiwan. So we did a little concert at their brewery, And during the middle of the break, we all had sake, and we had a couple drinks of sake as well, and no, not even close to tipsy. But I think it just still gives the point across that I'm trying to make is we actually, when we got to the piece that we were going to play, my papers were out of order, and I was like, we like basically made a big mistake, and I just stopped and was like, man, something just doesn't sound right, and then and everybody's laughing, whatever, and then I look down at the sheets and I go, oh, my pages are out of order, and then the MC was like, Sean, how much of that sake did you drink? It's like, oh, that was alcohol. So, but it's if you're having fun with it, who really cares? If it's your Carnegie Hall debut, let's
Maybe
not.
not.
Yeah, let's not.
Let's not. I think maybe the moral of the story is if you're going to play drunk, don't take out the nice flute. Right?
Yeah.
Get out the cheap flute that you're not going to cry too much if you drop it. So Ernie is coming for an intensive, right?
No, just a 2-hour session.
Well, I was just going to say, do you want to talk about the intensive program a little bit?
No, because that's only for in-house students.
I know, but people get excited and want to become an in-house student.
Well, that would mean I'd have to take new students, and I don't know if I can take anymore.
Yes.
But I mean, like, if people want to do an intensive, and if they're one of your students, I'd be fine with that.
Okay.
So
Let's clarify that Taidu Studios is definitely still looking for new students. It's just that you may be, as a beginner, you may be taught by an associate instructor before you get up to the ego destruction that is a lesson with Sean.
yeah, I've been very, very blessed with many students, especially through the YouTube and people reaching out to me directly. I've given a lot of students to you guys. I think Robin has 5 or 6 now. Mike has a handful. You have a handful. Yeah. It's the studio is growing in such a great way. Then I love giving you guys students now and watching just the shakuhachi world just expand even more. So that, because I can only teach so many people.
It's just a question of hours in the day.
Yeah, and honestly, it's much better for me to have a lower number of students and get those students really, really good and ready to teach, so that you guys can take more students as well, and that's how we can expand outward. And stuff. So what I do for my students is I offer them like a bed and breakfast like thing, or an intensive where they can come and stay here for a couple of days. That's why our in-house guest here, Robert, was just doing. He was here for 3 days. We did a bunch of hiking, and Robert is vegetarian, so I had my experience of cooking all vegetarian food. How did I do?
Yeah, it was good.
All right. Not poisoned?
No.
Okay. All right, good. So I won there. Then we do lots of lessons throughout the day. Sometimes I have other guests come out to help with teaching. And then we focus on things that we just can't do online. And then, of course, the intensives is people come over directly and they'll do like a longer session, 2 or 3 hours of lessons straight, which is what Audrey did. Audrey came a couple days ago as well to do that. So it's just as it is, what with what a lot of shakuhachi teachers do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and for those of you who are interested in maybe coming out this way at some point, Nara, this area, has wonderful produce and also not far from Kobe.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if
Kobe
you're really
beef.
excited about Kobe beef, like you can get it at the source, basically, with what?
Oh, yeah.
2-hour train ride. It's pretty close to here.
Yeah, I think.
And there's lots of restaurants in this area that serve Kobe.
Hour and a half train ride. I mean, that's from this area. If you go from Nara, it's an hour,
Right.
15 minutes, no problem. Because Osaka's only 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So, and that's just just hop on that one train. It goes all the way through there.
Yep.
But it's a beautiful area for hiking. Great food. Great people. I really enjoy living here. I really enjoy having my students come out here. There's a lot of in Nara. I have a greater sense of pride for living here than I was like when I was hanging out in Osaka, Kobe, Kyoto. Like here, I'm so excited to take people to Horyuji. I'm so excited to take people on hikes. Show them the local food of Nara as well. I really enjoy it here.
Yeah, my wife and I lived in Tokyo Prefecture for 2 years, and we just recently moved to Nara, and I actually feel just in the what has it been, a month?
Yeah.
A little more than a month that we've been here, I feel much more connected to this community and much more, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with Tokyo, but I feel much more welcomed by the people of my little town. It could be that I am the only walking, talking Santa Claus in their area. That could be part of it. I am pretty noticeable. But they've just been super welcoming, really, really kind. And it's also just a beautiful part of Japan that I think gets overlooked.
The only part of Japan that's more beautiful, and I think we talked about this on our previous podcast too, is Mie. Mie is unbelievably gorgeous.
My wife has been to Mie, and she tells me that I am wrong and you are correct. That Mie is amazing.
Yes, I would never want to live there. It's even more remote than this. Let me qualify that once again. I wouldn't mind living there, but my better half says absolutely not.
Yes. Yeah, my wife actually is the one who brought us to Nara because she came out here to visit and look around, and she fell in love with a little town that is, just safe to say it is Mayberry of Japan.
Yes,
is where I live.
Yeah,
it is the cutest little town in a valley you've ever seen. 18,000 people. So.
Yeah, it's a very small city, and I mean, you guys even moved out here on my recommendation, and I kind of pushed you pretty hard, but I'm glad that your wife came out to check it out, and it was like, wow, this place is really that great.
Mostly Sean just wanted me to come out here because he's got some buildings on his property that he wants knocked down with a sledgehammer. That's why he asked me to come here.
This is true. It's right there. We got a lot of work to do. And again, to bring Robert back in, he's our studio electrician.
Yes.
And so, turn the power off so we don't die.
All right. Well, I think we have time for maybe one more topic from the polls.
Yeah, we'll do one more topic from the polls, and we'll do a couple questions from the live stream if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, please. If you have any
again, I know that we started 30 minutes early on this one, but the times are times, and things have to change a little bit, and you can always watch back, and if you want your questions answered, absolutely, and you can go to our Discord and write your question out there. I also want to just mention too that we have the flute giveaway happening, so that you can hit the join button right below this video. It's like right here and right below there. So if you hit that join button, wow, I actually got that pretty good.
It was pretty close.
Yeah. So yeah, if you hit the join button, there are 4 options there, and that gives you a a ticket as a part of the raffle. I know you guys have heard this so many times, so let's do it really, really fast. The first level 1 ticket, the second level 2 tickets, the third level 5 tickets, and the fourth level 10 tickets. We will give away the giveaway at the last Monday of November and the last Monday of January. It is a brand new Yozan Mei Shakuhachi 1.8.
Gone, sold to an American. All
That's
right.
right.
So,
American with a big hat.
That's right. Is there anything else that we want to mention in terms of like plugs? Because we have not done any plugs until just now.
Plugs.
We kind of suck at this.
So I know we have some people asking about the Taidu Jinashi 3D model that's coming out, 3D printed model with carbon fiber. We are still in the process of just getting everything set up and building a stock first. So we're building up the stock. That way, when people order it, you'll actually get the flute on time, and it's not something you're waiting months for. So just please be a little bit more patient with it. I know you're excited, but you're not as excited as me. Do you see my face? Look at all the excitement here. We really are super excited about it, and I want it to be faster, but the thing is, I also want it to be really good. And so
the prototype that I played, shockingly good compared to I've played other alternative material flutes, not a lot, but a few, and this was much easier to get a tone out of than any of the others I've ever tried. And also I just love the idea that when my big clumsy butt falls down a hill while hiking, the flute is going to survive. And that's not the case with, all of your bamboo flutes.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we were actually testing, that we wanted to make it even more durable than all the other ones. So, we threw it really hard, and we were able to break it. So we're trying to make it even more sturdy.
Wait, are you telling me that there's a flute breaking sort of test and you didn't invite me?
I'm sorry.
Damn it, dude.
Yeah,
you know how I love chaos.
Well, that's why you have a building right there, and it needs to go.
I just need a hard hat and some. I gotta buy some of those construction tabby with the
the steel toe tabby.
Yeah, I gotta get some of those.
Yeah, nice.
All right.
All right,
So,
what's our last theme here?
Let's wrap this up with
I'm
another
ready.
thing from the poll. And yet again, I'm going to jump on a grenade here. The poll was, what's your biggest focus in your shakuhachi practice this month? And the choices were developing better tone, by far the largest choice, 59%. Expanding repertoire, building confidence in performance, and improving technical skills. And my answer was building confidence in performance, because I do have performances this month. But I'm a little surprised that it's not improving technical skills. That was the one that I thought would be the top answer.
And how many votes did we have in here? I think it was
We have 49 votes.
49 votes. Some of them have like upwards of like 100 and some odd ones. And so I wonder what would happen if we let this one run a little bit longer
It's only
too.
7 days old, yeah.
Yeah, I think that we'll get a lot more of a diverse answer, because I think that developing tone is the correct answer of what I was expecting. All of them are very important to work on, but I did think that the overarching response was going to be developing one's tone, because that's just what shakuhachi is all about. We're all about having a really nice, warm, round, deep, resonant tone. And you know, the operative word in the shakuhachi world is neido, which is the Japanese word for timbre. All right, and so they'll always talk about someone's neido, like an atatakai neido, tsumetai neido, katai neido, whether it be warm, cold, tight, hard, soft, round, all this sort of stuff. And they use another phrase too, which is aji, which is the flavor of someone's playing. So if the like aji ga nai, or they'll also say
No flavor? Is that what you just
yeah,
said?
aji ga nai is
Aji
no
ga nai,
flavor.
no flavor.
Yeah, just like flavorless. And they'll say that about flutes
It's
too.
the oatmeal of shakuhachi.
Yeah, but they all say that about flutes too. It's like, yeah, it's a really good maker, but aji ga nai desu ne. Like there's not any flavor to the flute, right? And that's a pretty common thing that you'll see or hear. There's not like sometimes it's like you'll even hear people say like something like aji ga umai, or aji ga aru na, or jibun no aji aru na. Like that's you have your own flavor. You have a lot of flavor and stuff like that.
Unfortunately, it's Limburger cheese.
No, it's sage-filled elk.
It's antelope that eat nothing but sagebrush. Yes. So I will, like I say, I went for building confidence in performance, and the other one that's at the bottom is expanding repertoire, which I thought was, again, kind of surprising. A lot of us, we have one person in particular. I'm not going to name her, but by saying her, I told you, because there's only a few women, so you can figure out who I'm talking about, who has a really incredible memory for the early books. Like,
yes.
She can just tell you exactly, oh, yeah, there's this one, umedi and blah, blah, blah. She can tell you exactly where a prior figure appears in the previous repertoire.
Yeah,
and
line 3, third note.
Right, and I have the opposite, where someone's like, this song? And I'm like, it sounds familiar.
It's just like, yeah, I taught you that song. And like,
really?
Oh.
And then sometimes I look at them and go, I have no recollection of this piece of paper. I've never seen this before in my life.
Never seen that woman in my life.
That's right. And then after a few minutes of maybe 2 breaths in, I go, oh, I remember this piece. Yeah. But I can't remember that stuff at all. And she can just off the top of her head go, yeah, that's in the Chuden book. It's on page 9. I'm like, what? So I'm really surprised that people aren't more excited about expanding repertoire. Like,
I think this is also just like a way that I specifically teach, because I like to give people a lot of pieces of music to explore and have fun with. And so that way they're learning the shakuhachi, not necessarily learning pieces of music, right?
That's true. You don't actually sort of, especially as you get further along, you don't expect the piece to be mastered, perfected, performance ready before you move on to the next thing. And oftentimes Sean will say at the end of a piece, when you've been working on it for a week or two, maybe sometimes in my case 3 or 4 lessons,
yeah,
he'll say, I don't want to hear this anymore. So it's yours now. You go develop it. Do your own thing. And many of them do come around again later in the repertoire.
Yeah, and Yamaguchi Goro used to say this to his students, like after they would have 4 or 5 lessons on a piece, and then he would say something like, "Jibun de migaite," like now go ahead and by yourself go polish the piece.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe a really important thing that we should talk about in a future live stream. The pieces that you feel like you have already, I don't want to say passed because they're still there, but the
Yeah.
pieces that you've moved beyond in the repertoire, going back to them, and I have some sort of personal traditions about going back to books and playing through the whole book.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing is something we can talk about next week or a future week.
Yeah, I think also another like thematic thing that can be tied into with this is the difference between studying and learning,
Yes.
right?
And there is also I think another topic we could put on the docket for the future is the idea of what's in your bag for what's your repertoire for a sudden, like, hey, it's Wednesday, can you play a gig on Friday? Right? What's in your bag?
Yeah.
And that's a good thing to talk about as well.
All right.
So if you have any other questions and you want us to answer anything else for you, feel free. Hit us up on Discord. And for that matter, you can come to the community channel on YouTube and add your input to these polls. Help me out, man, because all the ones I voted for are last.
So Bernardo Gonzalez has a question here.
Okay.
He says, interesting for our conversation. The biggest issue I am having is collecting and controlling my breath by closing my vocal cords to let enough air so I can complete one line and do it without intensity. So there's I have a actually, this is a part of the membership series, so thank you for the plug here. If you join the membership, there's a bunch of online lessons that I'll teach you about shakuhachi. And if you go to my seanheadmusic.com and go to the YouTube membership tab, you can see all the lessons that are there, and we have things about air control. But what you're experiencing here is volume versus velocity. So volume is the amount of air that you use from the lungs coming out. So, for example, 100% would just be going like that. That's everything. And then 1% would be like breathing out through a cocktail straw. And what I say for people is you want to be somewhere between 20 and 40% on the exhale. And then you want to use 60% in terms of your velocity. And so when you're playing, most likely you're using a lot more volume than velocity, and that's why you run out of air quickly. And so you're trying to tighten up places, and like you're trying to tighten up in all the wrong places. The throat in general should actually be very, very open. And so what I was showing some of my students in the Aomori Festival is the subharmonic singing. And because when you do subharmonic singing, you have to have the throat has to be really open. So here's normal singing, and then down, and that relaxing of the throat is really the position, the optimal position for creating a really nice sound for the shakuhachi. Then through that you create the proper amount of volume you want to come out of, and then you match that with the embouchure to get the right tone, phrase, length, and all that kind of stuff. So it's a very complicated issue because it's not one that you just go, boop, there it is, fixed. Okay, now I can play every line super long. It's something I still work on, and it's something that you're going to work on for the rest of your life. But it's good that you're recognizing like, oh, I feel like it's here, or I feel like it's there, and you're experimenting. So that's very good.
Yeah, and that's a topic that could withstand a much longer discussion.
Oh, absolutely. Easily.
Yeah, we could easily make a half hour out of that. So, all right.
Yeah, watch me.
Yeah. So please join us on Discord. Share any other questions you have, and this live stream is about answering your questions. I know today it's been kind of about Sean and I yakking, but it's about answering your questions. So by all means, hit us up with anything, whether it be shakuhachi or Japan or Nara, or if you want to talk flutes.
And consider joining the membership on the YouTube as well.
Absolutely.
We have one more question, and then we'll have to go because we have to head out to Osaka after this. So Dakatar says, hi, Sean. I know there are different schools of shakuhachi playing. What elements distinguish one school of shakuhachi from another? Thank you. So there's a bunch of things. Sometimes certain schools will have particular techniques that they use. So I'll use one for example. You'll get something like in the Kimpuryu school, you get the komibuki technique. But in the Oshu school, you'll get kind of like more of like a yuri. And then in some of the other schools, like the Seian Ryu, you'll get very straight tones with a strong or like an instant cut. And then other schools you get a straight tone, or what's called bobuki, and then with a tail end that you kind of dovetail. And so on and so forth. So there's a lot of schools that you can kind of, like pick up right away and go, oh yeah, that's that place, and that's what they do. But not every single school will have stuff like that. Usually what is the key element where you can identify what the school is by the repertoire they play.
Yeah, that's that right there was a little trailer for what could be a 15-part video series discussing the different schools of shakuhachi.
Oh boy,
there's so many, and the differences. Some are really obvious to the non-player or the new player, and some are not really obvious, and it takes a little bit of listening.
Like trying to make the difference between Ichoken and Fudaiji, like good luck. I mean, there is a very strong difference, but you would only know it by playing the music and kind of learning how those guys approach it, systematically.
Well, and then like within Myoan, I mean, how many schools fall under the umbrella of Myoan?
Yeah, because they all have temples that are related to it.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Okay, well, it's time for me to head out. Thank you guys so much for watching the live stream today. Mr. Ryumei, thank you very much. Robert?
In a world where one man has to hurry up and get off so we can go to Osaka.
All right, have a good